Path of Exile 2 will be console friendly, and that news has created quite the stir in the Path of Exile and ARPG community. We've seen a lot of hype surrounding this, lots of positivity, lots of people saying how this will bring Path of Exile 2 to brand new audiences and improve the game experience overall. I was quite positive the past few days about it. In fact, I had no negativity in me. But the past few days, I've been reading a bit of criticism about Path of Exile 2 being ported over to consoles, not even ported, being launched on consoles, and I'd like to talk about it today. There are 5 negatives that I've seen brought up, and a few of them are valid. Most of them are invalid, and we'll talk about why in a moment, but some of them, they are real concerns, and I'd like to bring them to light, as I do appear to have a little bit of a spotlight here on the Path of Exile 2 topic. We can see right here on the Path of Exile YouTube page that this console trailer is now the number 3 video of all time for the PoE YouTube channel, which has been around for more than a decade. It's probably going to break through that second spot and be right behind the Path of Exile 2 gameplay preview, with over 2 million views right now. This buzz surrounding it, this PoE 2 topic, it's tremendous. So we really need to address these concerns as we're bringing lots and lots of new people into the community. Many of them may be PC players. Many of them are likely console players who have never considered playing PoE 2 before. So let's talk about the issues right now. The first problem I'd like to talk about is a valid one, and it's an anti-console argument, and I totally understand it. It's the fact that right now, with Path of Exile 1, Grinding Gear Games has the complete freedom to patch their game as they please. When a league comes out and there's an issue that they need to fix with a hotfix, or there's a exploit, they can do it as fast as they want to. They can patch that to PC and have it fixed in moments if they'd like. However, now that PoE 2 will be cross-play and cross-progression with consoles, Xbox, PS5, so on and so forth, they'll need to run those patches by the parent companies of those consoles, being Sony for PlayStation and Microsoft for Xbox. That will add a substantial amount of time into the patches, okay? Right now they can be instant, and now there's a patch pipeline that they'll need to go through. That means that it might be quite a bit of time before exploits are hotfixed. Imagine Necropolis League if some of those exploits had to be run past Sony and Microsoft first before we could actually fix them. Because everything is going to be updated at the same time. This is a valid concern, and it means that PC players now, when they weren't before, will suffer. The economy will suffer due to these exploits or these glitches or bugs, okay? So that is one downside, and really, unless Grinding Gear Games has a magical solution or an agreement with Sony or Microsoft, wherein they can just patch the game as they see fit, especially in these emergency scenarios, I don't see any way this can be a positive, right? If we're just solely looking at it, it's a drawback to having the game across all platforms and everybody playing together on one server. Criticism number 2 that I've seen popping up quite a bit in the PoE community after those initial few days of hype is the fact that now that PoE 2 will be on consoles alongside PCs at launch and everything will be cross-play, Grinding Gear Games will need to think about consoles when designing skills, and they'll be severely limited by that fact. And I'd like to refute that not with an argument of my own, but with an argument from a developer. Yeah, that's right, this is the official PoE Discord, and this right here is a Grinding Gear Games developer, one of the people who's heading up skill design in PoE 2. And they were talking about the topic of, okay, consoles, now controllers are going to be a big thing. Grinding Gear Games is going to be limited in how they design certain skills. It's very hard to design skills that you can target very close to you, medium distance, far away, the direction you want to flame dash, for example. It's obvious that there might be a bit of an issue there, right? Well, one of the skill designers for PoE 2 says this clearly. I can only speak to skill design, but I can't think of a single instance where we've changed a skill because of controllers. We just make skills, and then the console team figures out how to make them feel good on controllers. Excellent, succinct, and it makes complete sense. Editing and post try here, asking you to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you enjoy what you see and what you hear. This criticism can be refuted by the simple fact that Grinding Gear Games, in the past, historically, never had a console team. Now for PoE 2, I don't even think they have a console team for PoE 1 right now. I just think it's for PoE 2. For PoE 2, they have a console team dedicated to making skills and the game as a whole feel good on controllers. I don't know how many people there are, how many developers are working on this specific sphere of PoE 2, but what matters is when people design a skill at Grinding Gear Games, they can say, all right, we've designed this awesome skill. This is what we pay all of you for, console designers. Make it feel good on the controller. This is why we give you the big bucks, right? And that's awesome. That's a criticism refuted directly from Grinding Gear Games. And of course, this could just be PR speak, but I really don't think GGG is like that, especially the devs who hang out on these Discords and are just conversing with people. This guy, he's telling the truth. He's being transparent with us. And I greatly appreciate that. And I love that he's so active here on that Discord. All right, we've got criticism number 3 here for PoE 2 being on consoles, and that's it leading to a dumbing down of the game. This is the most prominent criticism that I've seen about Path of Exile 2 launching directly on consoles. The fact that, okay, Path of Exile 2 is going to be on consoles. Consoles open up the market to a lot more people. A lot of those people may not enjoy the complexity or depth of Path of Exile or Path of Exile 2. So Path of Exile 2 is designed to be, what, simpler because of this fact? Well, if that's really how we're gonna talk about this, okay, let's look at Path of Exile 1, which has been on console since 2018. Now you might argue it didn't launch on consoles and it's always been a PC first game. Well, I'd refute that. PoE 2 does also seem to be a PC first game. One, based on that example that I just gave, where the developer said, hey, we designed something for PoE 2, the main game, first on PC, and then we poured it over to consoles and make sure it feels good with that team of people whose job it is to directly make it feel smooth, make it feel great. Additionally, like I said, we've had PoE 1 on consoles since 2018, and the game has not been dumbed down in that time. In fact, it's become far more complicated, with things like the Atlas passive skill trees being added, with all these scarabs and the awakened sextants that we had before. We have plenty of new crafting systems, wild skills, lots of balance changes coming in, and the leagues themselves. I mean, look at Necropolis. Is that not complex? That's not dumbed down in the slightest, okay? I mean, it's a tedious thing. And when you use it on controller, it's pretty difficult, okay? So I think that due to how PoE 1 has been designed for all these years, we should know that Grinding Gear Games is first going to design the game that they want to design, and then they're going to pitch that over to console. And they're going to make it work as well as it can. Now, this does kind of feed into criticism number 4, which I do think is valid. Now, they won't be dumbing down PoE 2 because it's now on consoles, but they may have a lower graphical ceiling because it's on consoles. All console systems have the same graphical software. They have a much lower ceiling than PCs do, okay? So that means that Grinding Gear Games maybe in the back of their minds are thinking, all right, cannot be as graphically intensive here. We cannot have as many mobs here or as many projectiles or weapon effects or spell effects or whatever here because we have to think about consoles. That's always going to be walking around in the back of their mind. I'm not a console player, first and foremost, so I'm reading a lot of opinions here. And I don't know if that is a valid criticism because I've seen a lot of console games and they are graphically intensive. However, a lot of those are cinematic. A lot of those are staged. Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2 are the opposite of that. Anything really can happen and can work, especially, it seems, in PoE 2. So they may need to think about those high-end situations a whole lot harder so they're not absolutely destroying PS5s or Xbox Series S's, right? This is a valid point of criticism. I do understand where people are coming from here. They may not be dumbing down the game, but they may be lowering the graphical ceiling. Just one more point on the dumbing down of the game for a moment. Now, people may think that those who are playing consoles, and this is an argument that I've seen, aren't as invested or intelligent even, and I don't think that's true in the slightest. I do understand the less investment part, and less wanting to rely on external tools or third-party resources, which a lot of PC players do. And that's a positive for PC players because that means grinding your games, hopefully, obviously they're going to allow all those third-party resources, but hopefully they insert more resources into the game itself. And we're already seeing that with the new help functionality that we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. But essentially, we're getting a dictionary in the game to help all these new players that will be brought into Path of Exile 2, and a lot of them, it's going to be because of consoles. The final criticism I would like to talk about here for just a moment is that PoE 2 being on consoles on launch means less content for us PC players. Everyone sounds pretty selfish in the comments, or at least these people who think that they deserve all the content from grinding your games. And anybody working on PoE 2 for consoles means less content for PoE 2 on PCs. Now, while that is technically true at face value, I don't think it actually turns out to be true as long as grinding your games plan works. And that is going to bring me into my pro-console arguments here. The first of which is that Path of Exile 2 is going to bring more ways to play for all of us, right? A lot of the content that was probably developed specifically for consoles initially is being ported to PC. The biggest is something I haven't even touched on in this video, it's couch co-op. You can play couch co-op on your PC. You don't have to have a PS5 or an Xbox to do it. You can sit down with your wife, significant other, your friends, whatever, on your PC, which you built for PoE, and just play together. That's phenomenal. It was probably a console first feature that was ported over. There are a lot of other features too, probably the help feature, that were initially implemented to help out those newer users who are coming in through console and won't understand all the intricacies of PoE or won't have a computer up where they can look up certain aspects of the game. That help feature is going to help them inside the game. The character-wide inventory was developed for consoles first. I'm guessing we'll also be able to use that inside the game. I'm going to ask the developers about that in LA when I fly out there in a few days. There's a lot of stuff here that was made for console, and now we have the goodies and we get to play with them. That's phenomenal, and that's a big positive. And I think that innovation is going to continue to occur. For a long time, PoE 1 has been stagnant in these sort of features, and PoE 2 is bringing them to the forefront. My pro-console arguments kind of mold together here, the number 2 and 3 arguments, and those are 1, more ways to play. If you can play on Xbox, if you can play on PlayStation, if you can play on PC and you can swap between whatever you want and you can sit down and play with others, that's just more ways to play, and that's just a big positive. And what that does, my final point, it brings in a massive new audience for Path of Exile 2. People don't understand how huge this is. I know people in the comments were saying that views don't matter on the YouTube video, on that trailer for Path of Exile 2 on consoles. That's false. Those views are everything. Marketing is quite a bit. Diablo 4 had a phenomenal marketing campaign, and it was one of the best-selling games of all time. Okay? It was a lackluster game, but it was one of the best-selling games and it had one of the largest populations. So if you can match together an excellent marketing strategy with a phenomenal game, you're gonna hit gold. And you're going to find so many new players and so many more people to play with. And it's just going to be a net positive for the game. Because even though people are saying, oh, they're spending money on developing stuff for consoles, I don't play consoles. Who cares? The number of people I've seen write that is actually flabbergasting. It's shocking to me. Like, other people matter. It's not all about you. Seriously. But if they bring all these new audiences into Path of Exile 2, they're going to make more money as grinding your games, and you know what they'll be able to do? Hire more developers, push out more content, more new features, more stuff for you in the long run. Okay, so look at it in that way. It might not matter to you specifically because you're not going to play on a PlayStation, you're a PC gamer only, but it might matter to that person who can't afford a top-notch PC and they just have a PS5 or an Xbox. They could buy all in one and it's transferable. You can move it from place to place with ease. Maybe they're in a remote country, right, where it's much easier to play with all these bells and whistles and not with a PC. Think about those people. This is going to be phenomenal for them. Truly, this is exposing a brand new set of people to Path of Exile 2, and it's going to be a massive net positive for the game. I suppose at the end of the day, it might not be what you want, but it's grinding gear games making the right decision for the entire Path of Exile community, and I'm glad that they're doing it. If you like the video, make sure to like it right now and subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile 2 content, and watch this video right here, which is all about what is coming to Path of Exile 2 for consoles in the imminent future. I cannot wait to experience it with all of you exiles. Talakura.